Welcome back, everybody. Another edition of Stay Tuned El Paso with Pris and Vic. Eventually, we're going to get Pris back with us. Pris has got some issues to take care of this episode. So I got to bring in a dear friend of mine, and let's talk to him. Because as we've decided, as we've said through this whole episode of recordings of Stay Tuned El Paso, the whole reason is just to have my friends come and hang out on the couch and chit-chat with us. And what a friend. Man, it feels so great to call you a friend. As many years as we've known each other, Rob. Rob Holguin, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Crowd goes
great
nuts.
To be here. Great to well, thank you.
And not even our intern Jennifer was applauded.
No one applauded.
She's just
no one applauded.
I know. Kind of used to that.
Thank you for the invitation.
You and I do go back. I tend to forget how far back you and I go. And one of the great things about being in radio, being in media for as long as I was, is I got to meet so many great people. I've often said, people always ask, and I know they ask you too, Rob, you get to meet so many famous people. You get to hang out with all these famous people. And yeah, you know what? I'm not going to lie, that's great. But to me, the better part of all of this is the people who were famous that I made friends with. I tend to forget about that. We're just friends. We're just buds.
Well, let's stop right there. Okay. Because the air quotes around famous, I don't quite understand what that's about.
I didn't think you were paying attention. You're watching on the monitor. I forgot we're doing our 6 feet social distancing.
Right.
Your peripheral. I didn't know if you saw me.
I could see the air quotes.
Frame. Okay, good.
And then, your definition of friend. I don't know. That's a loose definition. But we certainly have known each other for a very long time.
We can at least agree on that.
Right.
We've known each other. Rob, you were...
I was a new reporter at Channel 7 when you invited me over to the radio to talk.
I was working on a different radio station. I wasn't working where I was working previously. I don't care. I'll mention it. I was working on KISS at the time, and you were doing mornings. You were doing overnights. You were filling in a lot of times, and so I knew if I could count on somebody, you'd come out and hang with us, and you did. You hung out a lot of more, and God bless you, Robin. I think I've told you this before, but I'll say it again. Thank you for those times that I called you last minute, 11th hour, and you just showed up.
You're welcome.
You would come in. That was so great of you because you left, well, a lot like Pris now. She'd leave me by myself and I'd be sinking. And so thank God, once again, Rob steps up to the plate and he shows up again.
So essentially, I'm a fill-in for when people abandon you.
Yeah. But what a great fill-in! Look at your story. Look at your resume, man. You're the only. I mean, hold on now.
Okay.
Seriously, I'm gonna think. You and there's Johnny Jimenez, my Toy Shack friend from Vegas, who's been in a movie. You're two guys, one of two that have been in a movie. Major movie.
Yeah. Okay, I'll grant you that.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Never mind, you're on TV every flipping night.
Right. So you're referencing. I've been in a couple of movies, a lot of independent movies, but he's referencing The Day After Tomorrow.
Now, wait a minute now.
Which was shot here in El Paso a long time ago, right? Is that
who wasn't in that movie, by the way? I still got friends who
A lot of locals were in that movie.
Yeah.
I had a speaking part, though. I did have a speaking part, so that sets me apart
a little bit from
everyone else.
So you're on a level. You're on a level.
No, that was a lot of fun, and I
didn't say a higher level. You're on a level.
I'm on a level
over here.
No, that was a great deal of fun, and I have great memories of that. There's so many things that I wish. First of all, let me just explain something here. Clearly, this is awkward because he's over here, and I can't quite look at him, and I'm trying to,
see the little monitor,
see the camera, and then there's this microphone that I don't want to touch, for obvious reasons, even though it's been disinfected. So. Forgive the awkwardness here.
Yeah.
Secondly, I really sometimes think about how I wish iPhones had been around, for the first half of my life because I did and saw so many cool things that I just have no pictures of anything. And I'm not someone who was always very good at taking pictures, but with a phone, of course, you can be much more proactive about that. But yeah, being on that movie set was great. That was a really cool, huge, high-dollar movie set. I mean, they were rolling out, I think they spent a week here, must have spent millions of dollars for the shots that they got in El Paso.
What year is this? It's funny that you're saying this, that iPhones weren't around. That movie wasn't that long. Well, maybe it was.
No, it was.
15, 20 years?
It was 2000, 2001?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I think it might have been released in 2002. And the first iPhone is 06 or something like that?
or even just cell phones in general. It's a great. Such a general statement, but it's amazing to me how much technology has advanced, because even things that were hot then, hello, iPod, gone. What? I'm still saving up for the 168 gig iPod, and I can't get them anymore.
I remember one of the, you're talking about the old flip phones that had a camera on them that took horrible photos.
It looked like it was taking a picture with a potato.
Yeah, with a potato.
Yeah, better like quality.
When I first got to LA, I must have been there. I was reporting in LA in 05. I want to say it might have been 06. It might have been a little later than that, because in the run up to the 2008 election, Barack Obama was a candidate at that point, and he was trailing Hillary pretty significantly in at this point. And he did a campaign appearance very casually. It might have been like 5 of us at a campaign appearance at this, I don't know, it was like a gas station that was selling, clean fuel or something like that, So then, so it's Barack Obama and like 5 other people and a couple of reporters, and one of the radio reporters asked him, "Hey, how's your smoking going? You still smoking?" Because remember, he quit smoking,
right?
And I remember Obama just went in his pocket, grabbed one of those, what are those, nicotine gums, and threw it at the reporter, and I got a picture of it with one of those terrible phones, but who knows?
And then the quality probably you couldn't tell what it was. Now,
could you even get the photo off those phones? I don't know.
Send it to Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh, there was no Facebook at the time. At the time, let's talk about. I was talking to you. I like to brag on you. I do with all of my friends. Really, I find I live vicariously through you guys, because I think it's some of the great stories that you have to tell. You've got some great stories. Not only as a reporter here, I think people really recognize you and know the various stations and places you've been here. But you really kind of sort of made a name for yourself. I hate to say it, after you left here and went to LA for a while. But let's get into your history a little bit, Rob, from the community, from not so much El Paso, but in our area right here. What a great start you have.
I have no idea what you're asking me. Where
are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Oh, okay.
I'll split it off in about 8 different conversations.
What? Are you looking at your phone?
Well, I'm
getting an interview.
I can do this. It's a podcast.
Can the intern step in here?
I got it.
Okay.
So what?
Put your phone
when'd you
down
show up,
for
Rob?
a second.
Hey, Rob, good to see you. When'd you get here?
Victor,
who let you in?
Why are you drinking what appears to be a child's drink? This is purple. What is it? Purple milk? Is that what how?
Listen.
What is wrong?
They're not sponsoring. Nobody's paying us, so I feel more than happy to mention this is one of the best drinks ever from Starbucks. I'm a huge Starbucks fan. You should know this. That's not Starbucks. This is a dragon drink. It's called a dragon drink. It is a dragon fruit and almond milk, and it's delicious. It's tasty. It still has caffeine, so it goes well. It mixes really good with the caffeine and the Diet Pepsi.
Oh, God. You've got all your bases covered.
I'm good to
You've
go.
Got aspertine and some sort of strange purple food coloring. Yes, it was great knowing you, Victor.
But there's also fruit. Dehydrated, but there's dragon. Dragon.
Okay. Well, then it's perfectly okay. Everything's great.
So you're from Vado.
That's
what I was getting at.
Grew up in Vado, New Mexico, attended Gadsden High School, attended New Mexico State University, worked at various newspapers, worked in Seattle, worked in Sacramento, worked in the El Paso Times, worked at Channel 7, KVIA, went to LA, worked at the ABC in LA for about 10 years, came back, working at KFOX 14 now. Okay, let's get
now
to
we're
that
up to
point.
date. Okay.
So, KFOX 14, news at 5 and 9. I hope you can watch. Also plugging my Sunday show called Built in the Borderland, Sundays at 10:30. If you want to if you want to break the mold of local news and you want to get out from behind the anchor desk,
I love it.
Hang out with me on Sunday nights, 10:30, KFOX 14. What is your fascination with Star Wars?
I
saw you post something that was. I was embarrassed for you,
Victor.
I was embarrassed.
This is not going where I thought it was going to go.
You posted something about a Boba Fett, and you were like crying.
Yes.
You're a 40-year-old man. How old are you?
You've seen the tattoo. Yeah, thank you, by the way, 40. Thanks, bud. Appreciate that.
40-something-year-old man.
I'm not too far off in age, pal.
Weeping
about
an autograph for a
listen, now you're gonna
man
feel
in a plastic outfit.
You're gonna feel, and I know we don't curse too much on this show, but you're gonna feel like a big asshole after I tell you the story behind this now. Yeah. So yes, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and don't act like you're not. Don't act like you don't know the movies.
I know them, but I was a child. Well, I knew when I was in first grade, I had a Darth Vader. Well, not now.
Into my retirement, and I've got plenty of Darth Vaders. Thank you. One of my absolute favorite characters was Boba Fett. This is going to get very geeky. See, if I try to explain it to you, you're going to come down on me for being such a geek. You want the explanation?
Yes.
Okay.
Was like this mysterious guy in the first movie.
Look, you've seen I have his tattoo. You know the tattoo. I got the Mandalorian tattoo. This is before the TV show.
That's before. Okay.
This is Boba Fett. The main actor who was in the costume was Jeremy Bulloch. He was
you used past tense. I'm worried about this.
Yes, that's why I said here comes. So he was the main guy in the Boba Fett costume, blonde haired gentleman, 80s throughout so highly sought after autograph. Mutual friend Leonard Martinez, you know Leonard. God bless Leonard. We love you to death. Sent me a picture of Boba Fett autographed by Jeremy Bulloch, and it was just the greatest thing to me because I had never had his autograph. I'm not an autograph collector per se. I like to, as I alluded to previously, I like to have people as friends. I've actually made friends with the young gentleman who played Boba Fett in the prequel movies, Daniel Logan. I have him as a friend, and so now to get Jeremy Bulloch.
Can you hear people just turning this off right now?
No, they want to hear the story of why I was weeping. Let's not get to that. Turn off yet. So I let you plug your little Sunday show.
Did you notice it took me 15 seconds? I didn't want to hear your life story behind an actor who never even appeared.
Exposition behind it.
Okay. So you got the young guy's autograph, and then you got like the Mandalorian's autograph.
I got Jeremy Bulloch's autograph, and then a couple of weeks ago he died. Okay, there. Now I have his autograph, so it's even more meaningful to me. Okay.
I was just asking, man. I was just asking questions.
So growing up in Vado.
It just seems weird that you were weeping about an autograph. That's all. Ace is behind the camera here. I've met Ace. I've never really gotten to chat with you much.
Ace is great.
Takes great photos of the beautiful women who work in TV news.
Yeah. And sports. He does some great stuff. He does
other stuff.
Why don't you clown on him for Aaron Jones? He's weeped at a couple of Aaron Jones things. Clown on Ace for a while. He got to take pictures of Aaron Jones' kid.
I've noticed he takes pictures of all the beautiful women in television news. He's never asked me, hey, Robert, you want to do a cool photo shoot at San Jacinto Plaza? Or maybe just the beautiful women who work in, maybe just, I don't know, yeah, let's maybe not, Robert. Maybe, we'll pick someone else. So thanks, Ace.
You've been listening to Stay Tuned El Paso with Pris and Vic. Our guest this afternoon has been Robert Holguin.
This part cracks me up.
Dear friend.
I've watched your episodes.
No.
This part cracks me up.
This isn't the timestamp.
Because you reset as though we're on radio. Do you understand that if you're watching this on YouTube or as a podcast, you already know what you're doing? He's worked in radio so long that thing he just did is called a reset because people were like, you're driving to a Safeway in your 1978 Mercury and you turn the dial on your AM radio so the DJ would have to reset.
Yeah. 15 minutes. But this wasn't a reset, Rob. We're wrapping up. We're just ending it. I know where you were going, but it's time to shut it down.
That was pretty funny.
So growing up in Vado, how was that?
It was fine. I mean, come on, dude. Who cares?
Who
cares?
Who
cares what it was like to grow up in Vado? Anyone out there?
Is it exactly how I think it is growing up in Vado?
What do you think it is?
Well, growing up in Vado and you moved to LA. Say no more. You moved to Seattle. You moved to El Paso. You got out of Vado.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And, now I go back every Sunday and say hi to my parents.
Good. As it should be.
So my life's going great.
One of your, there's a lot of, as I was alluding to about 10 minutes ago.
Yes.
You have many great things. Again, now you're going to feel like an ass because I'm just going to give you the highest praise I can give you. One of the many great things that I praise and I am jealous of about you is truly your life experiences and the things that you have gone and done in your career and even outside of your career. And we had mentioned it on our previous podcast with David Madrid while he was here. You hadn't come in just yet. We were talking about your experience working for UPI?
Associated Press.
The AP Wire in Seattle. And I'm going to set that story up for you because you and I have known each other long enough that I know the story. And then up until recently, there was a part 2 of that story that just blew me away. The first part, surprising. The second part blew me away. And if you don't get to it, I'll help you. So the first part of working in Seattle.
Yes.
Were you interning? You were just starting at the AP, Associated Press.
My first job at the Associated Press out of college in Seattle, Washington, 1993. No. Yes, 1992. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so what do you want me to say?
Well, you know where the story's going. You know where I'm going with the story. So you're working early one morning, late overnights. You get a phone call.
I covered Kurt Cobain's suicide. That's
thank you. There's just such a.
That's what he's talking about.
Yes.
So I was the first reporter.
But
on
not
the
only
scene.
you broke it.
But here's what's interesting. When you do a show like this, folks, for the folks at home,
I'm trying to get into your story.
You expect a little. Like you're gonna sit around. You're gonna wait around a little bit for all this magic to happen. So you expect, I don't know, like some refreshments, maybe some craft services is what it's called, some food. Here's what you can expect.
When you come
here.
to Stay Tuned El Paso.
It's a box of what look to be expired granola bars, sweet and salty, and that's as good as it gets.
You're gonna feel like such an asshole when I tell you. Our intern, Jennifer, who's making zero money working with us, went out this morning and bought out of her pocketbook, bought those for us to have.
Allegedly.
No, I'm telling you.
Oh,
Chips Ahoy.
I missed the Chips Ahoy. Jennifer, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for 2 boxes of Chips Ahoy.
And those ain't freaking great value, buddy. That's Nabisco sitting up there for you.
Okay.
So you get no cookies now. Okay. Now you get no cookies. How about that? Or salt and sweet.
Sweet and salty.
And Ace offered you water.
Yeah.
Voss. And Voss.
No, I don't think it was Voss. I'm pretty sure it was tap water.
No, it was.
And then you've got the expired sweet and salty.
That's not how it goes. So you broke the story of Kurt Cobain's suicide. You were the first reporter on scene.
It's a sad story. You want to talk about a sad story? Okay.
I want to talk about I'm building up to part 2. You weren't like this in the mornings on Kiss. You were far from this. This was 180 of where you were. I need to check my phone real quick. Can you tell your story, or is that going to throw you too? Our next guest is probably outside. I got to open the door for him. Is that all right, Rob? Or?
Go ahead, man.
Okay.
I mean, it's not going to impugn any of the professionalism that we've seen already. Okay, it's not going to detract from the experience. While he's clearly distracted, I'll talk to you folks at home. Okay, so yes.
So Kurt Cobain suicide.
I am a young reporter. I'm probably 23 years old. I am working in Seattle. I had just seen Nirvana perform.
Were you a fan of?
Yes. Yeah, I was. They. God, I want to say their smash hit, "Smells Like Teen Spirit," would have been, I want to say 3 years before this. Before I moved there, maybe. I mean, I was still in college. I remember, so I can't. The timeline isn't quite right. But yes, so I'm a young reporter. I had just seen Nirvana perform at a secret show that MTV did. That was like at a warehouse where there was several bands playing. It was the Breeders. It was, the hip-hop group escapes my name right now.
Whatever.
Cypress Hill.
Oh.
And then Nirvana and then Pearl Jam was going to close out the show. So Nirvana comes out. This is in March, right? I think, it would have been a few months, like 4 months before he died. So maybe it was like November, December, around then. But anyway, Nirvana comes out, just kills it, just destroys. And I mean, they were perfect. It was one of those nights that I'll never forget in terms of live music. It was a crowd of maybe 1,000 people, right?
They are at their peak of their career.
Yeah, this In Utero had just come out, right? So this is like, they're coming out strong. And they had Pat
Pat Smear?
Pat Smear was already playing rhythm with them already, who would go on to be in the Foo Fighters with Dave. But anyway, before the show, I see Dave Grohl talking to the cast of Northern Exposure, some of the actors that were there. That was a show.
Can it get any more 90s?
Yeah, right. And so they would shoot in Seattle, so they were there, and I saw Dave Grohl chatting with him. I went and got a quick interview with Dave Grohl, the most gracious guy ever. I saw Kurt Cobain kind of stumble into the backstage. He had a beard, so it took me a little bit I couldn't recognize him, and his hair was much longer than in the previous record. Anyway, they come out and they kill it so much. They did such an amazing job that Pearl Jam then didn't come out. Pearl Jam did not play, did not follow them. I don't think they felt as though they could follow them after that show.
Wow.
They came out and said that, Eddie Vedder has a stomach problem, guys. Sorry, we're not going to see. So some of the members of Pearl Jam came out, Jeff, the bass player, and they just kind of jammed. They just kind of like messed around for a couple of songs with the guys from Cypress Hill and then left. So, fast forward 20 years, I saw Dave Grohl again.
Wait a minute. Pearl Jam and Cypress Hill on stage performing together.
Yeah, and they were just jamming. They were just riffing. I've got to think that video exists somewhere because it was MTV was taping it. But anyway, fast forward, more than 20 years later, I guess, I ran into Dave Grohl at where I used to work at the ABC in LA because they had a soundstage, and them Crooked Vultures were shooting a music video there. So I got to chat with him, and I told him that story, and he remembered it. He does remember that it was kind of odd that Eddie Vedder at the last minute decided, hey, I'm not going to follow that. They were just, Nirvana was at their best. That was at their peak.
No real reason aside from just assuming they weren't going to follow.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Dave didn't say, oh yeah, well we talked to them afterwards and they said.
No, he just kind of he knew he had like the tinge of remembering that day out of probably thousands of shows they played, but he remembered that particular occasion. So it was interesting. It was interesting to catch up with him. He is truly one of the nicest human beings in rock and roll. He really is.
I've heard that 1,000 times over about him.
Yeah.
I mean, even in Nirvana, out of Nirvana, them Crooked Vultures. I mean, everybody said the same thing. He has never changed. The fame never got to him, unfortunately, the way it got to Kurt Cobain.
Right.
So 4 months later, here you are, reporting.
Right. So 4 months later, I'm working a day shift at the Associated Press, which was unusual. I used to work the overnights because I was brand new and low on the totem pole. But I'm working a day shift. I get a phone call from a rock radio DJ who, I forget the name of the station. It was like The Edge or something like that. And he says, hey, listen, I got
Buzz and the Weenie on The Edge, 97.1.
Oh, man, this was
typical Weenie.
Alternative rock, dude. They didn't do the circus. Okay.
Okay. Oh, this was cutting edge,
yes,
so to speak.
Right.
And let me just stop you real quick and fill people in who don't know. Associated Press, that's where you get your news source from, at least back in the day. If it came from either Associated Press, Reuters, and that was pretty much it. You had the AP Wire, Reuters Wire. That's where news came from. It was legit. That was the start of the chain.
Right. So the Associated Press is a wire service that provides news to other broadcast outlets, newspapers, etc. So you kind of feed the world, is kind of the way it works. Anyway, the rock radio DJ tells me, hey, I got a call from someone who sounds legit. He's an electrician who's working at Kurt Cobain's house, and he thinks he saw a body. So, I tell my bosses, they give me a map. This is, of course, talk about pre-iPhone days. They give me a map book. Cobain's house used to be off of Lake Washington, and beautiful. His neighbor was the founder of Starbucks, Howard Schultz.
Okay.
You get this beautiful mansion. Me and my photographer get there as the police are taping it off, and he had committed suicide, of course. And
did you know? Obviously, you didn't know it was him or what was going on until you're able to confirm, or did you have an idea?
We had an idea. Yeah, we had an idea because I think the electrician. Not that I don't think he recognized him, but I think he got us. Again, an electrician was there installing a security system, so he saw through the window of the cottage that was above the garage, and saw a body. And I think it must have been recognizable enough, right?
And if memory serves correct, and you're a better record of memory of these events, isn't this about the second or maybe even third time Kurt had tried to do something in like a 6-month time frame?
There had been an incident in Rome. There had been where he'd been hospitalized, and then I think it had been described as an accidental overdose at that point. But yeah, I don't know of another one, but certainly he was struggling. A genius musician, but definitely had some issues, right?
So you got to see, and again, from when you've told me the story 2-3 times over, if I remember correct, or maybe I'm remembering it the way I want to remember it, but you saw the body from the hillside, from the top of the other mansion, from Howard Schultz, and so pretty much the pictures that have been released into the public now are what you saw. In fact, those pictures were from your photographer?
Not from my photographer. You're referencing the crime scene that was released like maybe 5 years ago, I think. So yes, so I'm there. I'm at street level. My photographer had gone up a hill to the back of the cottage, and if you can imagine, it was Kurt Cobain's mansion, then a park. It's so strange. It was a little sliver of a park, which
it makes
it makes no sense. But rich people make that happen for themselves, right? They create parks and nobody can build there. Anyway, so Kurt Cobain's mansion, tiny sliver of a park, Howard Schultz's mansion. So if you went up the park and looked down in the cottage, that's where my photographer was getting shots, and he said, look, and you could see, his leg, and I could see his leg and his hand. So I could see he was wearing Chucks and in his hand, and then the police put up they covered it. They put up a screen. So, yeah.
The part of the story that, number one, I'm jealous of is you get to break the story. Because of you, essentially, it hits worldwide. If people can begin to even fathom what that means and how, for lack of a better term, how cool that is, you reported on Kurt Cobain's suicide. You were the first one to break. The second part of the story, and this is sort of what I'm alluding to here, is that up until about 5 years ago, you told me this, and it blew me away, and I've thought about it ever since. You said he was wearing pink Converse.
Oh, yeah.
That you remember for all these years he had on pink Converse.
Right. I would have bet you $1 million that they were pink Chucks.
Yeah. And you've gone your whole life, 15, well, not your whole life, but you've gone 10, 15, 20 years remembering. And to me, it seems like, well, how typical of Kurt Cobain. He would have been wearing pink Chucks. That'd have been as goofy, crazy as Kurt could be.
Right.
Until these pictures were released up until recently, 5 years ago, and they weren't pink.
They weren't. I was wrong completely. They were Chucks, but my memory was totally wrong.
I've thought about this, and this is run, because I love that trivia. I love that why. Why, in Robert Holguin's mind, were the Chucks pink? They weren't. I'm telling you right now, you can go find these pictures, whether the crime scene pictures, whether they are the officially released pictures. They're on the internet now.
Don't go find them.
Well,
Don't
just saying.
Don't be that person.
For the sake of, you can see that they aren't pink. They were in fact black.
Yes. The moral of the story is human memory is incredibly unreliable. Okay, it is.
But
the way he remembers us being friends.
I thought we were close.
Another example of what I'm talking about.
I thought we were cool. Here I was, 20 years later, I was incorrect. Why would your mind make them pink? Why would you remember that? And this has rattled in my head for 5 years. And I think it's such a great study in psychology. Not only is what you said, the human mind and memory, not accurate, but you were a fan. You knew Nirvana. You interviewed Nirvana. You got to be part of their little circle whilst in Seattle, even if for a second. But you were a part of all that. So do you think your mind said, this is horrific, this is gruesome, this is your hero, not a hero, but this is your hero, this is something that it's going to stay with you forever, so let's try to find a way and make it happy and make the Chucks pink? That's the only way you could process and deal with?
That's a wonderful theory. No, that I've never really given it much thought, other than I remembered it wrong because I never saw the photos. Even the photos that my photographer took of that day, I never saw them. I just caught a glimpse of the horrible scene, and for whatever reason, my brain remembered the wrong color. But yeah, I mean, you might be right. If you want to, sit here and psychoanalyze me further, feel free.
That's all.
Feel free.
No, that's it. I just want to talk about the Chucks.
Do you want to ask me, why I am, more of a fan of Family Guy over The Simpsons? Do you want to ask me why I think it's strange that you fetishize the Star Wars franchise.
No, we talked about that.
Do you want to ask me why Ace never asked me for a photo shoot?
I think subconsciously we all know why. I don't think that we've talked about it. What I do want to ask you about, there's two other points I'd love to talk to you about, a couple of more points. But the second, and I already know you're going to clown on me for doing this as well.
What?
But when
I hope it's not depressing.
Well, of course it's going to be depressing. That's where you were. Now let's flash forward. You grew up in El Paso. You grew up in Vado. Did good stuff here.
Yes.
You went to Seattle.
Yes.
You came back to El Paso. You went to L.A.
Yes.
And while you were in L.A., another horrific event happened that you got to be a part of. You didn't get to break the news, but you were in the middle of all the, for lack of a better term, circus that happened while, as it happened, Michael Jackson's death.
Yeah.
How insane was that? People, I think, tend to have forgotten. And again, not even trying to clown it, it was a circus. Whatever this gentleman did in his time was a circus, even up until his death.
That'll be, one of the craziest things that Olive ended up covering. It's another sad story because it has to do with another icon that dies prematurely, arguably at his own hand, although there was a doctor convicted for negligence in Michael Jackson's death. At any rate...
Was that your theory? Was that his own hand?
Well, I mean, Michael Jackson was paying a questionable character to literally put him to sleep with anesthesia because he could not sleep. And people have talked about insomnia, and I find this, I've always kind of struggled with insomnia. It's interesting because it's the great equalizer in a lot of ways, right? Because here you had arguably, one of the most, talented, richest guys ever. He could not sleep. So he would get put under, with propofol, I think is what it was called. And incredibly dangerous, right? Incredibly crazy. And anyway, that's what ends up killing Michael Jackson.
The reason why I ask is because being the Prince fan that I am, and I've noticed
that's right, yeah.
There's a lot of parallels to how Prince passed, the same as Michael Jackson. You can say insomnia is a great equalizer. I think pain is the great equalizer. Pain from lack of sleep, and in the instance of Prince, he had a bad hip, and his hip was hurting him. But because, getting off the topic a little bit, but because he was a Jehovah's Witness, they never had the proper surgery for Prince. Whether he had surgery or not, he still wouldn't have been able to get the proper one that he needed, so he was on the pain medicine. So again, to do whatever it is he had to do to get rid of that pain, he ended up killing himself. And it burns me to no end that Prince will go down, sure, as a genius, as a musical genius, an artist, but he will go down as a drug-induced junkie. That's how he died. He died of a drug overdose. It kills me. That hurts me to no end. The same as, basically, Michael Jackson. But again, is it because you're on a level of, I don't know why I'm asking you, but is it because you're on a level of fame that you can get anything and everything you want and not listen to the people who are saying, you can't do that. You can't. You don't say no to Prince. You don't say no to Michael Jackson. So nobody said no. Don't take those. Don't do that.
I can't speak for Prince. I'm not. I'm not. I don't know enough about the case. I was a fan of his, but I certainly didn't study the case. I was an expert in what happened to Michael Jackson because not only did I cover his death, I covered the trial every day of Conrad Murray, the doctor that was convicted in his death. So I'm an expert in what happened there. And if your question is what goes wrong in the question of Michael Jackson, what went wrong was there were people around him who were allowing this behavior. And the reason is because he was going to make people a good deal of money. He was about to embark on a world tour. He was about to do a year at the O2 in London, literally days away. I have a friend who was a tech, the bass and guitar tech on that tour. He was packed up. He'd sold his business. Everyone is ready to go to London, and make $1 million and or more. But
a lifestyle of money for a couple of days. Well, okay,
yeah,
months, whatever the case was. That he had 51 nights planned, or whatever the situation was.
Exactly. And so
Jennifer's the fan. How many nights was he going to be in at the O2? Do you remember? 51.
51,
wow,
yeah.
I nailed it. Wow. So you're making more money in 2 months than you could probably ever see in 2 lifetimes.
Oh yeah. Oh, you mean everybody that was working for him?
Yeah.
No, listen, my buddy Scott Olivier, he's a really talented, professional in LA, and he was ready, man. He was ready to. This was going to change his life. He was everybody on that tour, right? Everybody
hit
on
the
that,
lottery.
Yeah. You're set to go. They're rehearsing at Staples Center when they call everyone in and say, listen, it's Michael passed. So, again, going back to the things he was doing. Listen, if you're hiring a doctor to give you an anesthetic to put you to sleep and no one around you is saying, hey, listen, maybe you're not ready to do a tour. Maybe we need to kind of, figure out your health first. Anyway, who knows?
There's a great story. And again, I liken it to
What
Prince.
do I know?
Yeah, but I liken it to Prince because there's a great story about Kevin Smith. Way back when, One Night with Kevin Smith. It's a great documentary. I think one of the outtakes of it is somebody asking Kevin Smith about a movie he was going to make with Prince. And Kevin Smith gives 30 minutes of stand-up material that is the funniest thing I've ever seen because it gives insight to Prince and, to a certain point, Michael Jackson. Kevin Smith talks about Prince's publicist and says that Prince would call up in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, and say, I need a camel. How do you tell Prince no?
He needs a camel?
Yeah.
Okay.
That the publicist would actually have to sit and explain to Prince, it's February, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're in Minneapolis. I cannot get you a camel right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, in that aspect, how can you say no to somebody, even if they aren't paying you sick amounts of money? In your wildest expert opinion now, going back, do you think this was a setup? Michael Jackson was basically setting himself up to fail because he wasn't told no. Were you surprised that he ended up dying? Even though nobody saw it coming, but when you go back and look at it, you go, wow, okay. Yeah, he should have known.
When I've talked to my friend who was on that show, he said the rehearsals that Michael was perfect, that Michael was dead on pitch, that he could spot if anyone was even slightly flat or out of key, that he was, and you can kind of see it in the documentary about the writing for the tour. You can see that this guy is just like, he's a badass, right? I mean, I'm not talking about his personal life, or I'm talking about him as a musician.
Professional,
So while he was very thin, I think everyone who were working around him felt like maybe he thought he could do this. That he could make this comeback. He had all the tools. It's just that clearly what was going on personally and in his mind and health related, Listen, this could happen to anyone. Remember what Dr. Conrad Murray did is he's texting his, this is a married doctor who was getting paid $100,000 a month to be Michael Jackson's personal doctor, and he's texting his stripper girlfriend while he's supposed to have eyes on Michael. You have to be able to see that the person is breathing. That's what he was getting paid to do. He's in the other room texting his stripper girlfriend who testified in the trial. I'll never forget that. It was one of the craziest days of the trial. But, so it's...
And you're talking about, and again, I go back to, it's going to lead into something else that just dawned on me too, but you're talking about pain. When you're in pain, whether it's emotional, whether it's a physical pain, whether it's how many months of literally not sleeping, whether it's a freaking toothache, pain is the great equalizer. And I'm building up to our dear friend, Freddie Soto. I remember Freddie coming to me talking about, bro, I've got these headaches. I have these horrible headaches. They're killing me, constantly killing me. And I remember Freddie telling us when I was working in radio at the time that Freddie would come and visit, that local comedian from El Paso, Freddie Soto, hilarious, who was on the brink of making it big, so to speak. In fact, I think he already made it big, but he was really just about set to explode. But he was even telling me, I got a friend who's hooking me up at the hospital. He's sending me the Prohypnol or whatever. He's giving me pills to take. And even then, I look back on it, Rob, and I go, shit, should I have said, hey, Fred, was that a good idea?
Right.
But I mean, again, it goes back to pain. How much pain can you take? And no matter what anybody says, you're going to try to alleviate that pain. Emotionally, spiritually, physically. Such a great study and stuff.
I guess since we're on such a serious subject, which I find it to be an insult to the vibe I was trying to create.
Well, we'll wrap it up with the good vibe.
Okay,
because the last question, well, not the last, but as we get toward the end, I'll bring us back up.
No, well, I'll leave it at this, which is Freddie was such an incredible talent. Just man, I really, it would have been great to have that guy around. He'd be doing incredible things. The lesson learned here is if you're struggling with something, get help. Please get help. And yeah, I think the choices that we make with the people that are around us is tough sometimes. But you know, if things had gone differently for Freddie, you know, who knows where he'd be? Right, he'd be huge. But there is help out there. If you're struggling with, you know, substance abuse, or if you're struggling with emotional needs, look for the help and get it, because a lot of people are struggling with that stuff right now because of the pandemic. You know, no one's immune to it. So, yes, it's heartbreaking to see, you know, beautiful, talented, or anybody.
Did you grow up with Freddie?
You know, succumb to this. I did not grow up with Freddie. I met him, you know, when he would come on the show. I was the morning anchor at KVIA, and he'd come on the show and promote stuff. And so I didn't have the interactions that you did. You know, we would talk for half an hour at a time. But you know, you
did the documentary though. You did the
I did a documentary called Finding Freddie on him, because when I moved to LA, right, you know, like right when he died. And so it was so strange that every time, I'm a big comedy fan, I'm a big stand-up comedy fan, you know, as an art form. It was funny every time I'd meet someone or be around the Comedy Store or something, you couldn't go. He was such a big part of his generation at the Comedy Store that everyone had his Freddie story, and everyone, if you said you were from El Paso, instantly connected because of Freddie. So, you know, I've gotten to make friends because of that connection. And in the documentary, I interview Bobby Lee, who we have friends in common. Bobby Lee's brother plays in a band with a very good friend of mine, Money Mark, and of course Al Madrigal. And anyway, the documentary is called Finding Freddie. It's on YouTube. Check it out, because Freddie is.
Please do.
Freddie's
I'll tell you,
great.
One of the greatest stories that Freddie ever told me, and a little bit of backstory, and then we'll get to what else I want to get into. But Freddie had told, when Freddie moved to L.A. for a while, he was Richard Pryor's valet. He would drive Richard Pryor. As Richard Pryor got older in his condition,
he was ill. Yeah, very
worsened.
Ill. Yeah,
he would actually push Richard around on the wheelchair. He would help him out. He would drive the limousine. So he got to learn a lot of his chops from Richard Pryor before Pryor passed away. One of the greatest stories, and I'm not going to do it justice, and there's a little bit of cursing, so please forgive me on that. But one of the greatest stories Freddie told me was that he took Pryor to, I don't know, one of the L.A. comedy clubs somewhere, and I think they brought him up on stage as a surprise. And as, you know, wheeling him up, and ladies and gentlemen, please welcome surprise guest Richard Pryor. And Freddie's wheeling him up, and he looked over at Richard, and Richard had snot coming out his nose, and it was coming down. And Freddie whispered to Richard, "Hey, Rich, you know, you got some booger coming out your nose." And Richard said, "Well, help me out." So Freddie said, "Oh, shit." So he digs around in his pocket, and he pulls out a handkerchief, and he leans over, and he wipes Richard's nose. And Richard smacked his hand, and he said, "I meant just give me the Kleenex, motherfucker." He didn't mean to clean his nose for him. And Freddie said that was the greatest thing ever in the world, that he got, you know, shut out by Richard Pryor. So God bless Freddie. Good stuff. Good stuff. Movie maker.
His family is the best, by the way. His mom is awesome. They're all still here in El Paso.
Got to meet his dad also before his dad passed too. And his dad relished in, a little bit of a side note, his dad relished in Regardless. He knew it. He knew he made it big because of Freddie. It was so great. Such a tragic loss there. Filmmaker, we talked about you being in a handful of movies, including Day After Tomorrow. You still getting royalty checks?
Yes, I still get.
I
still get sometimes 76 cents. Sometimes, if it's a good month, I'll get a check for maybe $1.10.
Hey,
but now, hey, listen, man, it's great. I'm not going to complain. What am I going to spit in the face of $1.15? No. I will take that $1.15. I will wait for about 15 more checks, and then I'll buy a cup of coffee.
That's what I was going to say. Do you cash it all at once, or do you just wait a couple of months?
Thank God for mobile deposit, right?
90 days, right?
Mobile deposit, it alleviates the humiliation of going to the bank and, can you cash this 76 cents?
But out of everything you've done, Rob, I mean, is it still kind of a kick to say, yeah, I'm in that movie. That's me right there.
I'll tell you
in that scene.
I'll tell you what was cool. Watching them film it all around me, the scene was much more complex than what you see in the movie. It was supposed to be a singular shot that started with me. The camera trucked all the way down to the bottom of the river. It was really quite cool. the way they had conceived it.
In this area, pretty much, right?
Over by, right by UTEP. Yeah, exactly. Kind of like by the river.
From where we are now.
Right. And anyway, it was a very beautiful shot. I like that he was looking at his watch there.
Gotta see what time we got.
Yeah.
It's gotta be on time, baby.
It's always, you know, that kind of professionalism, that kind of dedication to the craft, that's what you can count on with, what is this called?
You're listening to Stay Tuned El Paso with Chris and Vic. Our guest this afternoon is Robert Holguin.
Okay.
There's my timestamp.
Speaking of pain being the great equalizer, I think it's about time to hit the old
No. I want to get into something. So you ever watch it with people? Do you ever tell people, hey, there I am. Hey, let's watch this movie because you're going to see somebody famous coming up in this movie. You ever use it as a goof?
On first dates.
Do you really?
On first dates.
Yeah.
What I do is I have this little portable DVD player that I bought in 2002. And when I take my date out, I'll tell her, hey, listen,
off to put a few.
Feel free to order appetizers because we'll be like at Chili's or something. And, breadsticks, whatever you need if we're at Olive Garden. And then I'll open up the DVD and go, oh, look at that. What is this?
Have you ever
What is this funny little thing here? Oh, I think that's me with a horrible goatee and hair that resembles like I'm someone from The Sopranos.
So never the fact that
hey guys,
you're on TV constantly.
Yeah,
it's the movie that throws it over for you.
I was going to do this.
The movie pushes you over.
The movie seals the deal. Yeah.
Nothing about I got to get back to work at 10. No, it's the movie.
Guys, before we started taping this, when you're on TV, you open yourself up to criticism.
Where are you going?
You have to be vulnerable because you are you're on television, right? People are inviting you into their homes on television. They're looking at your face. Right?
They feel as if you become friends.
Right.
They know you as family.
So that sometimes leads to how shall I put this? Sometimes that leads to an inappropriate sense of familiarity, right? In the sense that you might think you're talking to an old friend, but to me, you're a perfect stranger.
Yeah.
Now,
happens in radio.
It's not to say that I'm a very welcoming, nice person. About 15 minutes before we got started here,
I know where you're going.
The previous guest who was here, we'll go unnamed. I don't want to call anybody out. The previous guest says to me,
but you've probably, if you're a fan of the show, you've probably already seen the episode. So
he says this: "Hey, you're Robert Holguin. My girlfriend says you look like the Grinch." So,
wait,
what? Oh, hey. Great. Thank you. What am I supposed to do with that information? I look like a hideous monster who hates human beings. Happy Saturday to you too, man. I don't know. What do you want me to say to that?
But in the interest of fairness, he did say my ex-girlfriend.
Oh, thank you.
He did say it was my ex.
I don't want to be inaccurate about what matters.
And when he realized his faux pas, he said, "That's why we broke up. You don't clown on the old game."
Okay, I don't think he realized it as much as he might have read the expression of horror that was on my face.
With a mask, you were still masked, and he knew.
Okay, all right, let's wrap this up.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about is he's such a he's got pictures going great. No attention. Anyway, so you've got some great, and I got to get Bettis in on here as well because I used to I hung out with Bettis once or twice. I got a great story with Robert Bettis and Ed McMahon before Ed McMahon passed away. But you've done these great little videos of the karaoke. God, I love that video.
Yeah, that was fun.
That you had everybody at that time because it was Fran's since moved on.
Right.
To other areas and stuff. But you do these great little videos. Is that all through an iPhone?
No. I mean, I shoot some of my, I do silly stuff with my niece and nephew. They love to do silly skits. I do that with my iPhone. No, I mean, I shoot with a SLR. I shoot all my own stories, all my own reports. I love photography. I consider myself a pretty good photographer. So I'm no ace. But
who is? That was so. I want to springboard into something else real quick before we start wrapping up here with you. So, how difficult has it been? Seriously, on the professional side, how difficult has it been not being in a studio during this whole pandemic? What adjustments have you had to make? And do you feel like you're ever going to go back to being in studio or being out on the streets again? Reporting.
Oh, we'll definitely be back in the studio, as soon as the vaccine is more widespread and the numbers are down a little bit. I have to hand it to, listen, my company, they just take it really seriously, and they sent workers home when this started. And a lot of, you saw a lot of anchors go home in April of last year, right? But then when things were exploding here in El Paso in November, people were back at work. So it's kind of counterintuitive. Yes, I've been working from home now and anchoring from home for almost a year, not more than a year, almost a year. And it's been really strange. It's been, if you would have told me that I could anchor a newscast from, my spare room, I would have said, you're crazy. But we do it. We do it every night. And we overcome, and the way that we have meetings, virtually, and it's insane the way that we've adapted so quickly, and I'd like to think successfully. But
well, I've talked to people without mentioning, we mutual friend that works there in sales, and she has said, I don't see sales ever coming back into an office, and I kind of think that, and separate sales, separate from anchors and TV and the broadcast, I get it. But even in any other industry, I really don't see sales in offices or the Dilbert cubicles that we've seen before. I don't think that's going to happen. I think you will be at home. Because if you're in an office, you ain't selling. Right. That's just my theory. That's just my thought.
No, I get it. Listen, there's going to be long-lasting effects. And you're right about, I think what it's made people think of is like, hey, do we really need to come into the office? It doesn't look like we have to, after all. So just the fact that it forced that change is interesting to see how it's going to play out. But yeah, I'll be back in the studio once things get, a little...
You missed it? Have you gotten used to being at home? Is it still different? I know you're a little old school in the way you've done things in TV. Have you gotten to the modern way, the new norm of doing things?
What does that mean?
Well, what do you mean being at home, doing the Zoom things, doing it, or would you not rather be in front of a freaking camera? Do you miss being in the studio? Do you miss that camaraderie of 3, 2, 1, go?
Yeah.
Instead of hoping that something's going to happen behind.
Am I going to get to talk?
So
does he just?
So when you grew up in Vado,
question. Yes, I miss the camaraderie of the newsroom, to be sure. Anything else? That was like a machine gun of questions that.
Well, I wanted you to see if you could
make sense.
Wanted you to rapid fire answer, Rob. This is the lightning round.
All right.
We're in the bonus.
I'll tell you what I do miss. I miss doing in-person interviews. They're more difficult these days. I do a few, right? I mean, you got to be kind of selective about it. I mean, this is one of the first things that I've done in person too.
I can tell the energy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, should I let you have that one? Should we just end it on you finally scoring a point?
No, we got about 5 minutes.
Ugh, no way.
We're still good to go.
No way. I got to check text messages. Sorry.
How's Miles doing? God, I love Miles. How great. That was the lead off into the little filmmaking that you do now. You're doing great stuff with Miles. What a character.
He's crazy. He's referencing my nephew Miles. Listen, that guy's the next Jack Black. I really do believe that. He's insane.
Jen's laughing. Have you seen little Miles in his little videos? Oh my God, he's great. Do you just tell him, Miles, go?
Yeah. Really, I do. He's honestly a very talented kid. I really do think, my niece is adorable as all get out, but he's got that timing. It's so interesting. You can spot it, and again, I'm a fan of comedy and you can see that he's just got it. Anyway.
One of my favorites, and I'm sure you've heard this over 1,000 times.
What?
Is the running for best of the best, and you had the meeting and Miles is, nobody puts down a Stella. Nobody beats a Stella.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was just so cool, so great. How many takes did that? How many takes did you do? That looks like you just did it in one.
Yeah, no, he's usually a one take guy. He's pretty good.
Does he get it? Does he know how famous and how funny he is?
He does. He knows he's funny. He knows he's funny, and he likes watching like the comedy bits. He likes to see his jokes land. It's really funny. It's really interesting. He's like 6 years old, but he's got that thing.
He sits there and he goes, "Oh man, I should have done something. I should have said it this way instead of that way."
When Ace breaks out his phone instead of the real camera, is that an indication that he's lost interest?
He's done. Yeah. I lost interest. Yeah, I lost interest 15 minutes. He lasted a little bit longer. He's into 50 minutes, Rob.
Has this been a good episode, Jen? Yeah? I'm asking the intern here. Do you feel like this was this better than other episodes?
One of the better, do you think?
One of the best. Yeah. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I didn't prompt that. She just said.
You made me blush.
I made him blush. Yeah. What, with the purple drink? Is that what did it?
Man, I wish Pris was here. I sure do miss Pris. been a couple. It's been a interesting podcast.
Okay. Why don't we wrap it up?
How do we spell regret? Remind me when we get done with this to make sure I get it correct. Dude, I appreciate you coming in, man. I really do, Rob. It's always a whole lot of fun to have you. It's fun to sit down and chit-chat with you. The times that we get to talk on the phone is far and few in between, but you're busy. I'm not. I'm not doing anything. Hey, you hiring, by the way? Jesus God.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I appreciate everything you've done, and you've kept everything, this podcast excluded, but you always keep everything on a professional level. It truly is an honor and a joy and a privilege to call you a friend and just to watch you hone in on your craft. The wife is a big fan. We sit and watch you, when we have a chance to sit down and watch you, and you just do such a fantastic job. And you've handled being in a COVID situation in our medium, your medium now, in such a great way. There's no blueprint of how to do these things, despite what people may think. There's no way for us to know how you're going to do things, what you're going to do, and you've handled it among the best that I've seen. And I think that just shows your true professionalism. And I'm not just saying this to blow smoke up your ass. Honestly, dude, I'm surprised you're still in El Paso again. I told you this back when we were doing the little crappy morning shows. You left and you still came back. And I think that's a testament to El Paso. El Paso and Vado is lucky to still have you around, man. I think you're one of the top.
I am so bored right now. Are you guys as bored as I am? Thanks, Victor.
You're listening to Stay Tuned El Paso. Our guest this afternoon has been Robert Holguin. Our thanks to him. Our thanks to you for watching this. Also thanks to David Hollywood Madrid, musical director, who's... By the way, Rob was a story about David Madrid. Also, what do I care? At this point, trust me, I've given up. Also,
you look like the Grinch.
Let's see. Give him a Grinch smile. We can see the monitor. Let's see. We can do the Grinch smile. Ace, do a green filter on the Grinch, would you?
I'm about to flip someone the bird.
Yeah? No?
Okay.
All right.
Put the camera down, Ace.
Also, our thanks to Ace, a producer extraordinaire, intern Jennifer, for hanging out with us this afternoon as well. Also to the Downtown Spaces, the Herald Post, and of course to you for checking us out. Rob, plug away. Tell everybody where they can find you at, all your little shows and news stories and stuff.
KFOX 14 weekdays. You can also watch weekends, but I'm on there weekdays at 5 and 9 p.m., and again, plugging the new show, Built in the Borderland, Sunday nights at 10:30. Check it out. Give me a follow on Twitter at RobertKFox14. Look me up on Facebook. Hit that like and subscribe on YouTube, y'all.
That's pretty hip.
Cool.
That's right. You still fit into that category. Gee, I wonder if I would ever be a guest on Built on the Borderland. Probably not, huh? We'll just answer it now. Just say no.
No.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you again. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey, it's Stay Tuned El Paso with Pris and Vic.
I'm Pris.
I'm Vic. You know the best way to connect with us? Follow along on all of our social media websites.
And if you have a guest that you want us to interview, please, by all means, let us know.
Like and subscribe to all of our websites. We'll be checking it very, very often. Right here, Stay Tuned El Paso.